Thanks for having me here, and especially everybody really for getting on board with this program. And we look at a lot of sites around the world. And I was just saying in a meeting we had before, we just had a bit of a chat. And I'm not trying to sell the Springfield monorail at all or anything like that. We're just saying how it is and what it's about. And we wouldn't be standing here if we didn't think that the project would work. So we really have a lot of faith in Cardwell and far north Queensland as a major destination. So basically I better tell you who we are and what we've done. So basically you get the picture of who we are. World Trail is my company. I've been around for a while. You can tell by the grey hair. We specialise in destinations. We started building trails back 30 years ago. I actually built trails at the back of my house about 55 years ago, and would ride I think everybody did that, always had a bike that you went riding off into the bush. But about 30 years ago I started building trails, and now our company, we specialise in core destinations. 30 years of designing mountain bike trails. The record now is 500 projects in 23 countries now. So we're Australian, really proud to be an Australian-based company from Cairns. Our office is in Smithfield in Cairns. We have another office in Geelong. But we have a good group of people, consultants, engineers, botanists, scientists, and a lot of trail builders too. There's a few of us, we got together at Derby at the summit that a few people were in November. But everybody in our team, we're all into the outdoors, hiking, mountain biking, and rock climbing and everything. We've won the most awards in the world, which we're really pumped at. We've got a great team that do quality work, and we really try and do every project we sort of take on board. We always try, and we've learned from the project before, and bring that information forward to do the best we can with every project. What do we do? We develop ride destinations, concept planning, master planning, audits, consulting, and we also create national and international event opportunities. When I was younger, I used to work for the International Cycling Federation in Switzerland, and I'd go around, my job was to go around the world and identify really good places to hold these major events. And we've integrated that into our company now. When we take on a project, we look at if this place can actually, like say Cardwell, if it could attract major events from around the world. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We specialise in igniting regions through premium recreational destinations. And basically by looking how the town works, where it's located from an airport, what hills you've got, if the people are pumped, if they want it to happen, if the people from the town really want to make this happen, at the councils and the government and all the state members and local members, if everybody's behind it, you'll end up with a good product. This is a photo from Cairns in 2017. We got the first World Cups in Cairns in '94, and it first brought in around $16 million into Cairns, and then it was '94, '95, and '96 we had the World Championships. Again, quite a few years ago, I rang them and said, when are you going to come back to Australia? They said, well, just tell us when we can bring these events back. So I talked to the Premier and the Mayor and a few people, and they said, let's make it happen. So in 2014, 16 and 17, we had 2 World Cups and World Championship, bringing up around $25–30 million for the region each time. We design and create the best trails in the world. I'm really proud to say that. We've been acknowledged for that. I'm not trying to pump up my own tyres, just to give everybody confidence that we design the best trails. We have a strict code of practice. It's safety, drainage and predictability. 3 major things you have to get right in a trail. Safety is very important. I don't know if anybody's seen those film clips where people are riding along and they're following somebody and then that person just goes off a cliff somewhere. They all follow, That's on YouTube. And look, there's a few things, you wouldn't build a swimming pool and fill it up with water and accidentally leave a tree trunk upside down underneath, under the water. You have to think of everything. You have to build really safe trails for everybody, right from the start. Drainage is important. We come from one of the wettest regions in Australia. So we learned in the early days that, look at that corrugated roof there, corrugated iron roof. You have highs and you have lows. Each low is a drain. You design trails like that. They feel good. They feel like a roller coaster when you ride. But every 10 to 20 or 30 metres you have a low point, and that sheds water off the trail, not down the trail. And again, we learnt that real quick, because I think we get 6 or 7 metres of rain up here a year. And predictability is the last one. That's a hard one to explain, but it's basically how many mountain bikers are here? We all know about flow. It's basically that, predictability. We're not actually making you ride a certain way. We're just setting the trail up that you're going to have a hell of a ride. You're not going to have high abrasion on the trail, and you're not going to go off the edge. I'll just touch on that. The safety, design-specific trails. If they're designed wrong, as you can see, you may be coming down a hill or coming across a landscape and a trail. All of a sudden, in the bottom image there on the left, it does a sharp right-hander, and if you don't know that's coming up, you bang, you hit something, or you go over the edge, and that could be really bad. In some cases, you see the rider at the top, they're following down a trail and it rolls over a rock. For a lot of mountain bikers, that's fine, that's good, they want a challenge, but not everybody needs that challenge. We have a thing called no force risk. You're not forcing anybody into a situation that they're not skilled up to. So you have bypasses around these things. So basically designing trails for everybody. Drainage is extremely important. Hardening surfaces. You see a reverse grade there going through a stream. That's usually rock armouring. You can put a bridge there, but usually a rock ford or a crossing. It hardens the base of the trail and will never erode out. Same in some, you notice a lot of tea tree areas, it's really boggy and soggy. You don't put tyres across them, you harden the surface either by rocks or a hardened surface. And there's predictability. We won't go into that because it's a long pages and pages on that. But basically trails which feel great to ride and do not cause any heavy abrasion. I'll just go through our most successful projects in Australia. And I've probably got to talk about one thing is over the years, these destinations have got better and better and better. But we had the formula about 15, 20 years ago. There's 6 boxes you have to tick to make sure that everything is right. It's like a ski field, bringing a ski resort into a town like this. You build a ski resort and you don't have any chairlifts or you don't have any ski runs or something like that, it's not going to be very good. You've got to have everything in place for it to work well. Well, we have 6 boxes you've got to tick. I'll talk about it later. But basically, our most successful projects in Australia started off with only 4 boxes ticked or 5 boxes ticked until we got the 6 boxes ticked, and then it was rolled on from there. First one, Smithfield, we designed in 1994. It's only about 35 kilometres of trail there in Smithfield. People don't actually get in planes and travel to Smithfield to ride, but it's a great local trail system, and it holds really major events. It's more of a race venue. That photo is actually not far from here. It was supposed to be Alice Beach up in Cairns, but it's I think it's on the Cassidy Coast somewhere. Somebody slipped the wrong photo in. Stromlo in Canberra, in 2004, Rob D. Costello. Anybody heard of Rob D. Costello? Rob and I and another guy were approached by the government to build some sort of outdoor adventure stuff, a running track, a mountain bike track and a cycling track in a place called Stromlo Mountain. The fire, where all the observatories are in Canberra, right there. Fire came through and decimated, burn all the equipment there and everything, and the whole hill. And they originally were going to have about 9 kilometres of trail wrapping around the hill. And we suggested they have a little bit more than that because they'll be able to pull a lot more people in. And now it's a fairly popular place to go riding. Mount Buller, we started in 2007. It's one of the first ski resorts that adopted mountain biking, and it's in Victoria, and it went from 2,000 riders a year to about, I think it was about 25,000 riders a year. Falls Creek started in 2009. Again, great popular place. A lot of Victorians in New South Wales, Queensland, people from all over Australia travel there. And it's still that whole ski resort thing where they have chairlifts and you ride up in the beautiful alpine areas. Atherton in Queensland, which is just up near Cairns. Very popular place. And if anybody does travel to North Queensland, they ride Smithfield, Atherton, and another place called Davies Creek. And then Derby, Tasmania. We started that in 2013, and this is the one that ticked out every box. Went from a small town of about 110 people lived there. Low socio-economic, not many people. There was no work. There was 2 pubs there, and not many people went there. It was just this old mining town. I think it was one of the largest mining towns in the world 100 years ago, and I think they mined tin. The dam burst in 1927, killed a bunch of people and tore out the mining equipment, and the town went down from there. We got in and started designing. We were asked to have a look at a few different places. We spotted Derby in northeast Tasmania, and you'd never seen anything like it. It was this little quaint old town. No glass and aluminium and concrete. It was just really vintage and very old, and all it needed was a key turned back on. And and the mountains, they had lakes there, and the mountains were high, and the beautiful trees and granite boulders and everything. We go, this is perfect for mountain biking. Everybody said, well, it's a long way away from anywhere. Derby is in northeast Tasmania. It's an hour and a half from Launceston, and Launceston's on Tasmania, the island of Tasmania, and that's miles from the mainland, We're going, well, the same analogy, if you get the best surf break in the world in Indonesia, people will go there no matter what. They'll travel from all over the world to ride that surf break in Indonesia, and it happens every day. And we could see the terrain, the trees, the mountains, the lakes, the rivers. It's just so beautiful, and we put in 85 kilometres of trail. Now I think there's around 50,000 people going there a year, and the houses went from $50,000 to about $400,000, $500,000. And employment is up around 120 people are employed there. And the biggest thing we were chatting about this afternoon was young families that moved there with kids, like when I say young, 35, 45-year-old, parents, they brought their kids, and kids are going to school there, and they've started up businesses and employed people and everything. It's a really dynamic, fun, enjoyable place. And if you weren't even into mountain bikes, I'd say go to Derby. It's beautiful. And because on the coattails of Derby, this is another one, Hiddenvale in Queensland. This is the first private destination, a really beautiful place, way out the back of Ipswich, about a couple 100 kilometres of trails, and they had some trails there. We got in and designed a bunch of trails there. It's owned by a guy called Screw Turner, who owns the flight centres, and he's into mountain biking, and he wanted to get a lot of people there. He had, there's a wedding centre, some old, like a farm, and all these old buildings and everything. He got it up as an event centre, and then the mountain bikes came along. He held a race there every couple of years, and it's quite a popular place in southeast Queensland. St Helens is what I was going to talk about on the coattails of Derby. It's a little township, nearly identical to Cardwell. And they saw what happened in Derby. They said, can we do something the same size, only 50 kilometres away? And it's going, well, it's the same as Thredbo, it's the same as Mount Buller, Falls Creek. All those ski resorts aren't that far from each other. The biggest thing we noticed from our stats that we got a lot of documented information there. Derby people were going to Derby for an average of 5 nights each visit. That what they would do, it's really funny, they would probably take Friday off, they'd leave on a Thursday afternoon, get on a plane somewhere in the mainland, they'd fly to Launceston on the Thursday night, they'd have Friday there, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and leave on the Tuesday. They weren't eating into their their yearly holidays, you know, their annual holidays. They're going, well, maybe I've got a roster day off here, and a bunch of people will go and do that. They go for about 5 days. They wouldn't eat in their annual holidays. But by having something the same size, St. Helens, about 100 and something kilometres of trail, about 50 kilometres away, straight away you go, actually, we will make this our annual holidays now. We'll go for 2 to 3 weeks. And that's what's happening now. Well, COVID is different, but that's the plan. That's what's been happening. It's a huge amount of Tasmanians going to St. Helens already, and it's the full amount of trails is going to be open in about 3 weeks' time. So, and it's hugely successful. So northeast Tasmania, for the tourism board, they go northeast Tasmania now is the epicentre of mountain biking in Australia. But the big thing here is that people travel. They get in planes and they travel and they go to these destinations. A few which are coming online. Warburton, that's yet to start. Wangeti Trail, which is one single trail going from Palm Cove to Port Douglas, about 100 kilometres long. It's different to here, but it's also a precinct and a region. We're about to design, had a few trips to Norway last year. We're supposed to be there this week, starting. Designing Europe's largest mountain bike destination in a little place called Flow, FLA, they say it's called Flow. And it's an absolutely beautiful place full of moose, and completely different to what we're used to seeing, but there's moose everywhere, and fir trees and waterfalls and lakes, and bloody cold. But it's a beautiful place, and it's about an hour from the airport, about an hour and a half from Oslo. The main thing is, what we're talking about here is why were these successful? And this is what I'm here to have a chat about. I've dropped a couple of hints here and there, why these towns were successful. This is basically it. Very small image here, but these are the 6 boxes you have to tick. Connectivity, natural features, quality trails, pubs and accommodation, progressive expansion, and event overlays. They're the 6 boxes you have to tick. The first one is connectivity. National and international connectivity. My years with the international cycling unions designing races, they had race destinations. They had one key factor. They said nothing any more than an hour and a half from the airport. So if you travel, no matter your connections, you don't want to be driving an hour and a half from the airport. You've probably flown for 20 hours or 15 hours with your bike and all your friends and everything. So an hour and a half is sort of where you draw the line, and that's what you have here. That's what Derby has, and that's what all these other places have. If you're going to hold a major event, but also a ride experience with no separation, proximity to the trailhead, population, and airport, ride in, ride out, finish with a smile. What that means is everything, wherever you stay, you wake up in the morning, you look out of your window of your accommodation, you can see the hill. You go, that's where I'm riding. You're not getting in a car and driving for 3 hours or 10 minutes or something like that. You drive here, if you come from Townsville and you're riding mountain bikes, you park your car up there, you don't touch your car again, because you're right here where the trailhead is. The trailhead must be somewhere in here, very close, 1 minute, 2 minutes ride away from a cafe, from your accommodation, and from everybody else's safety. So connectivity is very, very important. We have a thing where you finish with a smile. If you roll off the hill and you roll down into a pub, into a cafe, or wherever your family are, you're finishing with a smile. You don't want to finish with a 3-hour climb up a hill and you're hating life and you'll never come back. It's okay if you do that halfway through the trail, because if you finish with a smile, you forget about that hardship. But once you're here, that's what it's all about. Number 2 is natural features. Lakes, rivers, swimming holes, waterfalls, mountains, escarpments, bluffs, lookouts, ecozones, local native flora and fauna, social catchment and Instagram moments, which we'll talk about. But basically, the more beautiful things you have here in the environment, the trail can weave its way through. Usually, when we go and design a mountain bike destination, you've got a quite large slab of land. Could be 6 kilometres by 5 kilometres or more. But we go through and we start harvesting information from everybody. Like where's a waterfall, where's a swimming hole, where's a lookout, and everybody's got an idea. Everybody in this town knows where all these beautiful things are. We draw it by dots. We take the trail past them. Because then, when people are there, they'll take a photo, put it on their Instagram or their social media feed, and that goes all over the world, and that's free. You don't pay for that. And when somebody is in New York or California, they're looking at a photo with a coconut tree and a beach and a bike and a beer, or you're sitting on the beach, they're looking at, I want to go there. And they'll do whatever they can to go there. Because they can actually feel themselves riding because they're a mountain biker too. You have an emotional attachment to your activity, you get excited, you get goosebumps, and then you go and talk to your friends and they go, yeah, I saw that photo, we want to go there too. And that's happening all over the world. You get a front cover of a magazine, that's been happening for years. You look at that, you know, a travel magazine. How many people have got over the years, got a postcard from Rani that went to Fiji and said, look, you know, wish you were here. And you look at that and you go, I'm going to be there one day, you know, and it's true. People want to go and see beautiful things. It's even better if you're riding or doing something, climbing a mountain or mountain biking, that really helps too. So look, local flora and fauna, you know, that's an international thing. You can actually, cassowaries and crocodiles and everything like that, that's all adds to the flavour, all the type of stuff here. We were talking today about, like, you know, with the traditional owners, with what's happened here before over the years, you know, and what information, cave painting and stuff, could be anything, you know. 3 is connectivity. 3 is quality trails. It's impossible to go out and say, well, we've got all these roads here, we've got all these logging tracks, let's just signpost them and they'll work. Well, they won't, because that's not what mountain bikers want. They want to climb for a while, they want to rest for a while. They want to climb up here and rest for a while. The trails have to be sustainable, they have to last. If a trail is just, you know, it's not built right, it won't feel good, it may fall apart, it's got to just be done correctly. And people have got to feel really good at any level. A beginner, through to an intermediate rider, to a pro rider, they've all got to get something out of the trails. And the trails got to work for everybody. We have a wide range of diverse options, 15, 17, 50 I've got written there. It's 15% is beginners. You have to have 15%. If you have 100 kilometres of trails, you have 15 kilometres for beginners, families, young kids to go ride, and they're fairly easy. They're not pushing you into it. Hey?
Barbecue facilities.
Yeah, well, everything, yeah, all that, yeah. And something really fun and active for families. That's 15%. The largest is 70%. That's between 28 and 55 age group. And the biggest age group that rides are around 42 to about 55. That's your biggest group. And then your 15% at the end is your black or double black diamond, all your good stuff. And it's not just restricted to 15 kilometres of really difficult trails, because you can grab those difficult elements of those trails and put them in the lower trails, especially the 70% of the intermediate, so you've got something off the side. If you're an intermediate rider, if you're riding along, if you don't know how to jump or you don't know how to do this, you won't notice that there's a little lip running off a rock and you're landing down there further. So you actually design them into the trail. As we were saying before, no forced risk. And finish with a smile. No forced risk. You don't force anybody into doing something that they don't want to. You know, you're riding along and all of a sudden there's a big drop and your friends just jump over there and you go, I can't do that. Or going up a steep hill, you think, I can't do that. That's hard. You have something that you're not forcing people into. You know, you have beelines around certain obstacles and stuff like that. The next one is pubs and accommodation. Cafes, hotels, accommodation on the trails. Wide range of variety and bed options, mountain bike friendly, and you feel like you belong. You start with a coffee and finish with a beer. That always works well too. But don't have just 1-star or 2-star accommodation. You've got a large range of people. You know, if you have a wide range of accommodation from, you know, that suits families and singles and 4-star, 3-star, 5-star down, you know, it's usually around that 3 or 4-star. It's a mountain bike sort of friendly style. You have bike washes and you have, you know, one thing that used to frustrate us years ago, you go to a ski resort where there's mountain bikes, you walk in the room, the accommodation, you open up the door and it looks really nice, but there's all these photos of chairlifts and people skiing, and you're there in the summer, you're there to mountain bike, you know. So people have to feel like they belong. So you go to your accommodation and there's, you know, the bike washes are there, and there's bike racks, and there's images of bikes and maps of where you go and everything like that, so it really works well. We were talking before, start with a coffee. You may get up at 5:30 a.m. and you want to go for a ride on a trail. And your friends, well, they're in bed. They're not going to get out of bed until 7 o'clock. So you go for a ride, head out, but you're not going on a ride that goes for 50 kilometres. You may just go out for about 10 or 5 kilometres. You come back, and by that time they're at the coffee shop waiting for you, or at the cafe or something, and you head off with them. So everything must be close and all must be sort of stitched in together. Progressive expansion. Everybody in the community's got to like the idea. They want to be progressive with the project. The main thing is no landlocked islands or separation. We've had it in some places where you have a slab of land. When I say slab, a good slab that will fit 80 kilometres of trail. And the place has proved so popular that there's more and more people coming. They want to grow, they want to build more trails, but they couldn't because they were restricted. They couldn't because of private property and farms and stuff like that. So wherever you can expand, just in case, you can add another 10 kilometres or 20 kilometres here and there. It's really helpful, and you certainly have this here. Opportunities for businesses and precincts. A central piazza and a core precinct is really important. Again, the township is just here, somewhere here. We haven't started looking. I know Cardwell well. I've got some ideas, but you have a precinct that is a mountain bike precinct. That's sort of where people go and get picked up by shuttles, which is equivalent to chairlifts. There's shuttle companies and there's bike shops and everything in a precinct, in an area, you know. And you certainly have this all. Anywhere in here you could do that, you know, and the trails aren't that far away. Lucky enough, the bush just comes down here, just down the road here, and the town's there. And the last one, which is a really good one, is event overlays. When you come in and design a trail system and build it, you don't just design it for one thing, you design it for a few things. And again, the next slide, I'll touch on that. But basically, you can actually hold events if you want a core event, a signature event. The state government might say like we want like an Ironman event here. You know, like what can we do in Cardwell? How can we get people here to ride the trails? You know, and if the trails are adaptable, you don't have to build any more new ones just for that event, and they work from the get-go. It's great. You need an area where you can park maybe 3 outside broadcast trucks, and you have to fit 20,000 people in an area like a concert. You know, you come along with set up the marquees and the villages and stuff like that. You look at all that, emergency access, overflow, bypasses. You may want to use the main street as a start and finish line, like a race, and you want to put all the bunning up like a triathlon or something like that. If you have a bypass, you can do that. Probably wouldn't be able to do it here because that's the main highway running through, but you could do it on this street, one back, or a street off the side, you know. And if that was a once a year event, you can get away with it to do that. The destination has to fit local, state, national, and international. Accommodation close to the trails. This is all built in St. Helens for mountain bikes. Something for everybody. You can see, 28, 40, 50, 58 age group. 40 to 50 is the sweet spot, and a wide spread of skills with no filters. And there's sort of that's a trail that you can actually roll straight down. You didn't know, and not every trail has to have a jump, but this is just an example of a bike, like a trail that you can actually just roll down with your tyres on the ground, and it's just an easy going trail. We call it an airflow. This trail is called Air Going. It's in Derby, and it was the most popular trail at one of the largest events there last year. For all the pro riders, they went down it because they could just get so much air. But there was also people riding down there didn't know there was jumps on the trail because it was just all big and rolly, and you could just roll down with your tyres on the ground. Local brewery down in Tasmania started naming their beers after the trails, you know, and now they've got quite a few beers named after trails, and it's very, very popular. This place here called Derby pod rides. They came in and with this accommodation, you can't really see the accommodation, but each cabin is, you know, it's a cabin, but it's really done. The architects got in there and had a hell of a time. But it's right in the bush, beside a cliff, near a waterfall, and you can't drive there. You can only ride there. They've got chefs. They've got tours and everything running out of there. I think it's about $4,000 to go there and stay there for a week. And they take you on a tour and they cook for you and they look after you and look after your bike and everything. And it's amazing. It's won so many awards, and it'd be really good to jump online and read up about them. And the opportunities for long-term employment, healthy, competitive products. This is it again in Derby, a little shop called Vertigo. They set up one bus with a trailer, and people would chuck their bikes on there to go to a place called Blue Tier, which you did last year, was it? Or, yeah. Trail, it's a wilderness trail about 30-40 kilometres long. You ride it, you end up at the pub halfway, then you end up at the pub at the finish, and you have a good feed. And they take you there, they drop you off, and you come down, and people will ride in the wet or the dry. They only had one bus when they started, one shop. Well, now there's another shop right beside there, and that's a shuttle company. They've got 12 buses now, and there's 5 other shuttle companies, and there's other shuttle companies picking you up from the airport and taking you there and everything like that. And they hire bikes, and they've got accommodate. It's amazing what's happening. And everybody in the town, everybody that serves you at a counter is a mountain biker. Everybody that pours you a beer or takes you for a ride, they're all mountain. Everybody's a mountain biker. And it's like going to a ski resort. Everybody, the reason why they're at that ski resort, working at that ski resort, is because they ski and they love what they do. So you find you get a lot of really progressive, active, good people. These are the 3 critical layers I was talking about. These are the things I was talking about, event overlays and everything. When you build a trail, a destination, it's also for the community. It's like, like a football field or a cricket field. You'll go and have a game, a match there. You may throw a stick for the dog, or you'll go and use that field. You can hold an event there, and then, people won't travel around the world to come and kick a football on that football field. That's where mountain biking and surfing and golf actually are a little bit different, and I'll go through this. You build a set of trails. The trails are there for the community. You're 1 hour power. Everybody goes out. Most people go out in the morning and the afternoon and do some practicing. Go out and do some fitness. They'll go riding, they'll go swimming or something, but let's talk about mountain biking. They'll go for a ride in the morning for an hour or in the afternoon. The trails are there. It's their trails. They love it. It's a venue. It's a sporting complex. It's everything. It's a skinny ribbon that goes for 85 to 100 kilometres. It's only a metre wide, and goes for about 80 to 100 kilometres long. And it's your fitness. It's your gym. You have emotional attachments, fitness, culture, and health. The trails are here in the town for the community. Secondary, if it's that popular, a club will start up, and we notice this everywhere. A club will start up. There's a training facility. The club can run events just like a golf club here. You get international credibility. You can hold major events there, signature events, skill schools, and it goes on and on. You actually bring events. You can bring a major event and drop the whole, we call it the circus. You bring the circus along, drop it over the same trails. They don't have to be redesigned. They don't have to be built any differently. They're the same trails as your trails that you go and ride in the morning, but people are racing on them. And the circus lifts up about a week later and goes away. All the people go back to their countries or back to their towns, and that's it. The trails are still there. And the third big one, the same trails are a destination. People will travel all over the world and all over the nation to ride these trails, if they're built well and if they're in a really spectacular location. There's employment, branding, private enterprise, regional significance, and cross-pollinating with a lot of other things that are going on around the area. So the closest thing, we're at a golf course now. Who's heard of St Andrews in Scotland, right? People go there and just play golf. That's the first one, community. People near the area, I think it's pretty bloody expensive, but if you want, you can go and hit the ball on a weekend, have a game of golf. Then, the second one, competitive. The same golf course, they'll bring major events to and sit over the top of that golf course, and they'll have a major event, gets televised all over the world. They don't have to change a thing. They may change where the pin is, make it a little bit tougher, but basically it's the same course. And then the third one, the same course, if you were really into golf, I think that would be on your bucket list to go and play or go to St Andrews. We were talking before, it's about Bells Beach, same as Bells Beach. It's just a great beach in Victoria. The locals go and surf it every day, but then they hold competitions there, and then people travel all over the world to say, that's my bucket list, I've ticked that off, I've gone to Bells Beach. Well, mountain biking is the same, if you have a great destination. And that's it.